Okay, it's day 3. We're a little tired. We played a little hard last night. And today is the actual reason we came up on this trip. It's Tina's birthday month, and Tina always likes adventures and experiences, so I am treating Tina to a trip down to the Anan Bear Observatory down on the south end of the island. So I'm not sure if that's it there yet, but it's a soggy, drizzly day. Perfect southeast Alaska, what do they call this? Southeast sunshine in the liquid format. So we're waiting for our boat to get here, and we'll be taking about a 30-mile boat trip down to the south end of the island and be checking out the bears, world famous bears at Anan. So we should have some good video of that, hopefully, with a clean lens from Tina's phone, not my phone. And we'll update you on that. But yeah, we'll see if we can get some shots of our boat and our tour guide and all that stuff. This might be them coming in now. So this is the Breakaway Adventures. I guess the name of the boat is the Ocean Pro, and Spencer is our trusty captain today, and we're gonna see if we can get Spencer to let me have a go at the controls and see if this thing will do a 360. I don't know if it will. It's a pretty big boat. We'll see. But pretty nice, cozy, warm cabin for our trip down in the southeast sunshine to go see some bears.
That's a good for whale. Some paintings right here. That's what he's pulling up to. These are there's carvings down in the north end of Wrangell. You can go from town, but these are called pictographs. They're paintings.
All right, so I figured I'd just try to do a voiceover and kind of explain what's going on. Spencer in the breakaway boat just dropped us off at the trailhead here at Anan, and as you make your way up, this is what's called the lagoon. As you can see, there's a little bit of drop off as the tide goes out, turns into a little bit of a waterfall. Our group, there's about 10 of us, and we have a guide with a bear gun, just in case, because there are bears along the trail that they like to cross the trail to get down to the water where all the fish are. So we are following our trusty guide. Very pretty hike up the trail. It's very easy to walk. It's all gravel and or boardwalk with bridges that the Forest Service does a great job. As we get up closer to the falls, it's not a very far walk, but you can see the water. Look down into that is solid fish. If you look close enough, you can see they are finning in there. As we make our way up to the Bear Observatory, there was no bears, and all of a sudden there was bears, and so it was kind of constant. They come, they go, and this guy was right below our observation deck. So this was our very first sighting, kind of just sitting up top of him, watching down, and we just sit there and watch bears like for probably 2 to 3 hours. These guys are across the river from us. It's a very steep hillside, and there's all these big boulders and caves and stuff that they walk around. I thought this guy was kind of cool, just walking up the log. Extremely agile. Black bears have extremely sharp claws, so they get very good grip on logs and whatnot. This was kind of one of the highlights of the day. You can't see them very good, but this is a sow with 2 little yearling cubs, just probably a few months old. They only made a short appearance. This guy, he was kind of fun to watch. He had probably one of the better fishing techniques. You could see he would dig down with his left arm and paw, and he would try to essentially kind of swoosh the salmon up where he could get at them. It worked. Sometimes he swung and missed, but for the most part, his technique worked pretty good. I think we watched this guy catch about 3 fish in an hour. Some bears will sit there and they'll just plunge their heads in the water and like that. But it was just kind of fun to watch them. The water was extremely high for this trip. It was, I'd say that is honestly probably the highest I've seen this river here in Anan Creek flowing. It was super high, so I think that probably made it a little bit more challenging for the bears to actually get anything, but there definitely was not a lack of fish. But anyway, we sat there and watched this guy. He was right below us, and they also have what's called a photo blind where you can walk down to, and you're literally just 2 to 3 feet away from the bears. I think that's where I took this video from, was down closer to his level. But just sitting here watching them do their thing, it's pretty special. If you can ever get a chance to go do this, the only bear observatories that I know in the state of Alaska, or this one, the Anan Bear Observatory between Wrangell and Ketchikan, and the other one is up in Katmai. I think Katmai is a national reserve or state reserve or something like that, but those are the bigger grizzly bears, and probably the more famous Katmai Falls, I think they're called. I can't really remember, but if you're ever in Southeast Alaska, this does not disappoint. There's always bears. There's always action. The very lead-in video, this was the spot where I think this guy was fishing, and then another bear came and got really close. They're extremely territorial. You can see their body language. They get very nervous when another bear is in the area, so they're looking over their shoulder like, hey dude, this is my fishing spot. Can you please go find another one? And they get in little skirmishes, but nothing too violent or anything like that. This coming up right here, this was the closest I got to a bear. He was probably literally about 4 feet from me. You can see the railing of the observatory, but these guys, they're only concerned is catching fish, and they will sit there and catch and eat fish all day long. They could really give a crap about humans. You just don't want to startle them. You don't want to get between them and their cubs if they have them. So it's extremely safe to be close to them because they have one thing on their mind, and that is stuffing as much fish in their bellies as they can. This guy was pretty interesting in the way he just, that same log, yeah, we just kind of straddled and sat on this branch. These bears are kind of characters. They're just kind of oafy and doofy and do kind of fun things. They fall over and whatnot. This is right before we left our very first brown bear sighting. So you can see by the size of their head and just the different color of their fur that this is definitely a different species of bear. So this was right before we left, so we got to see everything. We got the sow with the cubs, we got to see a little skirmish, and then this guy made his appearance right before we left. So that was pretty cool to actually see a brownie up there as well. This is that extremely steep hillside, and just kind of cruise along on the logs, no problem, like it's no big deal. So then we headed up and walked back, and this is that same lagoon. The tide had come in and filled it full of tidal water now, and that falls is pretty much disappeared. We hopped onto the Ocean Pro and we headed back to Wrangell. So it was pardon the voiceover through this whole thing, but I just figured it'd be the best thing to do to kind of explain what we were doing. But headed back to Wrangell, and that was kind of the highlight of our trip, or the pinnacle of everything. So then the following day we flew out, so we just went out and got some cool footage. This is Pat's Creek right on Wrangell Island, just some kind of neat scenery. Still pretty drizzly, and they do get salmon up in here. I didn't see any on this day, but nonetheless, and this is the creek or the lake marshy area that creek runs in and out of. It's called Pat's Lake, and up here at the end, this is where all the locals, it essentially turns into the town skating rink in the summer. Just a beautiful day. The sun was starting to break out in a few spots. That fog was burning off. Just glassy, calm water. All the lily pads and everything. It's just it's a really cool area. So I figured we'd show that. And this video right here is called a log dump. This is back in the salt water, and this is where the old logging trucks would dump their full loads of logs into the bay to build log rafts out of. This is right before we're going to head to the airport, and my friends Vern, Greg, and Michelle were out halibut fishing, and my buddy Dustin that you saw already, he said, hey, come on down and watch their offload. They got some big halibut. So we ran down to the waterfront and watched them offload. This is what they call bycatch. So they're fishing for halibut, but they caught all this red snapper. I think they call these brown bombers, and they're all kind of species of essentially rockfish, but there's those beautiful red snappers Dustin said it, to him that's the best eaten fish, but their main catch was going out to catch these halibut, and this is some of the bigger ones. I think they had some that were pretty close to 200 pounds. So the big ones, they'll just put a sling around the tail and then hoist them out. So this is what they're doing. I think this is their 3 biggest halibut that they had on board. But these things are monsters. These are like 140 to 180 pound halibut. I think there's 3 of them in this little sling load, but that's how they get the big ones up and out of the boat. Someone's got to get down in that fish hold and sling those in there. So I remember doing that as a kid working in the fish cannery. It was always not that exciting to get down in an entire room filled with fish. You could imagine the smells and the slime and everything that's down there. So they'll lift them up, drop them on these kind of sorting tables. I'm not exactly sure how or what. I think they're actually, Dustin told me that they sell these as a whole fish. So pretty much they'll cut the heads off, freeze them, and ship them down to the Seattle area. So that's why they sort them on these tables depending on their size and rough weights, like 60 to 70 pounders, 50 to 60 pounders, and stuff like that. So they'll sort them out, box them up, freeze them up, and ship them down to the lower 48 as a whole fish. So there you can see just the size of these things. They're pretty big fish. So here I am with my 150 pounds of frozen halibut, and then headed off to the next race at St. John, where we'll be hosting a giant barbecue. And that is the extent of our Wrangell trip. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to get back to doing some racing videos and expect that here at the beginning of next week. Thanks for watching.